Journey to the West is one of the four great classical novels of ancient China. It was written during the mid-Ming dynasty, approximately between 1436 and 1566 AD, and is generally attributed to Wu Cheng'en. The story is based on the real historical event of the Tang Dynasty monk Xuanzang traveling to India to obtain Buddhist scriptures. Journey to the West mainly tells the adventure story of Tang Sanzang, Xuanzang, and his three disciples, Sun Wukong, Zhu Bajie, Sha Wujing, and the White Dragon Horse, as they journey to the Western Heaven to obtain the scriptures. Along the way, they face 81 trials, subdue demons and monsters, and ultimately achieve their goal. The story is divided into four parts: the birth and rebellion of Sun Wukong, the origin of Tang Sanzang and the reason for the pilgrimage, the various adventures on the journey, and finally obtaining the scriptures, and achieving enlightenment. Journey to the West holds an important place in Chinese literary history, and has had a profound impact on later literature, film, opera, and other cultural forms. It has been translated into many languages, and widely disseminated around the world. Characters like Sun Wukong and Zhu Bajie have become symbols of Chinese culture, influencing countless films, TV shows, and commercial products.
Chapter 1: The Birth of the Monkey. It is said that in ancient times, the world was divided into four continents, namely, Dongxing Shenzhou, West Nyoha Continent, South Ganbu Continent and North Julu Continent. In Dongxing Shenzhou, there is an ally country. In a place close to the sea 2 or 300 miles away from the country of ally, there is a beautiful Huaguo mountain. The mountains are full of fruits, peaches, bananas, watermelons, and pineapples. There are also many small animals living here, including squirrels, monkeys, elephants, and a herd of sika deer. There is a reef near the sea in this Huaguo mountain, where you can accept the wind and waves all day long, feel the essence of the sun and the moon of heaven and earth, and have spirituality over time. One day, a wave hit, and suddenly a crack opened in the stone, revealing a stone egg. After another 500 years, I heard a loud noise, and the stone egg cracked, and a stone monkey popped out of it. The stone monkey rubbed his eyes and slowly opened them, looking at the world around him. Yes. The blue sea and blue sky, the green trees and forests, how beautiful. The stone monkey moved his arms and legs happily, climbed down from the reef, and hopped into the forest. Along the way, he saw little rabbits jumping up and running in front of him, birds chirping and singing in the trees. Everything was so new to him. The stone monkey came to a small stream, saw his reflection in the clear water, and at first startled and ran away. Later, he cautiously returned to the river and carefully looked at the reflection in the water. Slowly, he finally understood, this is what he is. The stone monkey played around by the water for a while, and felt a little hungry, so he ran into the woods to pick wild fruits. Suddenly, he noticed that a group of guys who looked like him were looking at him. The stone monkey didn't dodge, but just stood still in some confusion. A few bold monkeys approached him slowly and asked, "Where are you from?" The stone monkey pointed in the direction of the reef by the sea and said, "I'm coming from that side." Then the monkey asked, "Where are you going?" Then the stone monkey pointed in the direction of the fruit tree and said, "I want to go there." The monkey said, "Great, we're going there too, come with us." The stone monkey said, "Good." It didn't take a few days for everyone to get acquainted. One day, the monkeys were playing by the river. The monkey suddenly asked, "You say, where did this river come from?" The monkeys looked up and said, "Shall we go upstream along the river and see the source?" "Okay, let's go." The monkeys went up the river with joy. Halfway up the mountain, I listened to the sound of the water getting louder and louder. Turning a mountain pass, a magnificent picture appeared in front of me, only to see the cliff opposite the monkeys. A huge waterfall fell vertically, dozens of feet high, splashing white steam. The roar was deafening. The monkey pointed to the waterfall and said, "What's in there?" The other said, "Won't you go in and see?" He said, "Why don't you go in?" Another monkey said, "Who would dare to go in the water when the water is so big?" At this time, an old monkey came up and said, "Whoever can get in and out, we will worship him as king," and everyone will say okay? Good. The monkeys responded loudly, but no one dared to go in. At this time, the stone monkey stood up and said, "Let me try." As he spoke, he closed his eyes, jumped into the waterfall, and disappeared into a white mist. The stone monkey landed on the ground with both feet, shook the water droplets on his body, and when he opened his eyes, he saw a strange scene in front of him. It turned out that the inside of the waterfall was a cave, and the ground was dry, and there was not a drop of water. There are many stone tables and chairs, stone pots and stoves in the cave, and I don't know when someone left them. There is also a stone tablet at the entrance of the cave, which reads, "Huaguo Mountain Blessed Land, Water Curtain Cave Cave." The stone monkey was overjoyed and began to play inside. The monkeys outside waited for a long time, but when they didn't see the stone monkey come out, they all thought that he had drowned in the water. After a while, the stone monkey got tired of playing and came out of the water curtain again. When the monkeys saw that he was safe and sound, they all gathered around him and asked, "What's inside?" The stone monkey wiped his face and said, "There is a cave behind the water curtain, which is very interesting. Everyone follow me in to have a look." So saying, he took a few daring monkeys and got into it first. The other monkeys, "You look at me, I look at you," and they all went in. When I entered the cave, it was really as interesting as the stone monkey said. The monkeys jumped and jumped with joy, climbing the rattan and swinging. The stone monkey lay on the stone bed, clapping his hands happily. After playing for a while, the stone monkey suddenly quieted down and asked, "You just said that whoever can get in and out will worship him as the king. Is it still a word?" The old monkey led the monkeys and said, "Of course." The stone monkey asked, "Then why don't you come and see the king?" The old monkey hurriedly led the monkeys to kneel on the ground, and said in unison, "See the king." The stone monkey laughed and said, "Let's all get up. This will be our home from now on." The monkeys were cheering, when suddenly one of the monkeys tilted his head and breathed. The stone monkey asked, "What's wrong with him?" The little monkey went over and touched the monkey's nose and said, "Report to the king, he is out of breath." The stone monkey asked, "Why do you call it out of gas?" The old monkey came over and said, "If you are out of gas, you are dead." The stone monkey asked again, "How did he die?" The old monkey said, "Birth, old age, sickness and death are inevitable for everyone, and we will inevitably have this day." When the monkeys heard this, they were all sad. The stone monkey was also sullen and said, "How can I not die?" The old monkey said, "If you want to live forever, unless the gods have a way." The stone monkey asked, "Where are the immortals?" The old monkey said, "I heard that it is on the other side of the sea." The stone monkey asked, "How far is it from here?" The old monkey said, "I don't know how many thousands of miles." The stone monkey said, "In order for our children and grandchildren to live forever, no matter how far away, I will go." The next day, the monkeys set up a raft and gathered a lot of wild fruits and put them in the raft. The stone monkey wrapped a grass skirt made of leaves around his waist and set off. He wandered alone on the sea for months. One day, when I finally saw the land, the stone monkey went ashore on a raft, and there was a trickster on the beach, surrounded by a group of people to watch the excitement. Seeing that he was strong in martial arts, the stone monkey walked over and asked, "Are you an immortal?" When the man heard this, he laughed and said, "What? Immortal? The gods live in the mountains over there." The stone monkey looked in the direction of his finger, and saw a green mountain in the distance, and the mountain was shrouded in clouds and mist. When the people watching the excitement saw a stuffed monkey talking, they were so frightened that they scattered, and their clothes fell to the ground. The stone monkey picked up 2 pieces of clothing from the ground, put them on, thanked the entertainer, and walked into the mountains. Entering the mountains, all the way to the pine and cypress, the water is murmuring. The stone monkey walked and heard a singing voice in the distance, "Where we meet, the non-immortal is the..." A woodcutter came down from the mountain with firewood. The stone monkey stepped forward and said, "Old fairy, I salute you." The woodcutter put down the firewood and looked at him, and said with a smile, "What do you call me? Old immortals? I don't dare to be." The stone monkey said, "If you are not a fairy, how can you sing the song of a fairy?" The woodcutter smiled and said, "This is what the old Taoist on the mountain taught me. I don't know if he's a fairy or not, but he's almost like a fairy." The stone monkey happily asked, "Where does he live?" The woodcutter said, "You follow the mountain road all the way up the mountain to the end, and you see a cave." After saying that, he picked up the firewood and went down the mountain. The stone monkey walked up the mountain road, and sure enough, at the end of the road, he saw a cave, and there was a stone tablet standing next to it, which read, "Lingtai Fongsuan Mountain, the 3-star cave of the oblique moon." The stone monkey suddenly felt a little hungry, so he jumped on a pine tree to pick pine nuts from the branches and eat them. At this moment, the door of the cave opened, and a handsome boy came out, looking at both sides and saying, "Who is making noise here?" The stone monkey quickly jumped down from the tree and said, "It's me." The boy was startled and asked, "Where are you from? What are you here for?" The stone monkey said, "I have come from far, far away on the other side of the sea, and I have come to learn from my teacher." At this moment, a deep voice came from inside, "Let him in." The boy pursed his mouth and said, "Master told you to come in, come with me." The stone monkey followed the boy into the cave, and saw a white-bearded old man sitting on a high platform, with many paths standing on both sides, all listening to his lectures. The stone monkey stepped forward and saluted, "Hello, old fairy." The boy said, "This is our Bodhi ancestor, don't kneel down quickly." The patriarch waved his hand and said, "Forget it. I ask you, where are you from? What are you doing here?" The stone monkey clasped his hands together and said, "The disciple is the Dongxing Shenzhou Aolai National Huaguo Mountain Water Curtain Cave Clan, and he is here to seek immortals and learn the Tao." Unexpectedly, the patriarch heard this and said angrily, "Come on, blast me out." The paths on both sides came and pulled the stone monkeys and walked out. The stone monkey struggled and shouted, "Let go of me, I'm really from there." The patriarch waved the dust and said, "Let go of him, you said that you are from Dongxing Shenzhou, then Dongxing Shenzhou is thousands of miles away, and there is a vast sea in the middle, how did you come here alone?" The stone monkey said respectfully, "The disciple took a raft and drifted all the way across the ocean to this place." The patriarch nodded and said, "Oh, then what is your surname and what is your name?" The stone monkey thought for a while and said, "The disciple has no father, no mother, no name and no surname." The patriarch shook his head again and said, "Nonsense, everyone has parents, how could you not have one?" The stone monkey said, "Don't hide it from the patriarch." The disciple jumped out of the stone. "Ask the patriarch to give me a name." The patriarch said, "You stand up and take 2 steps, and I'll take a look." The stone monkey walked 2 steps, and the patriarch said, "Look at you walking, like a monkey eating pine cones. I will take my surname from you, and my surname will be Sunday." The stone monkey said happily, "Thank you, patriarch." The patriarch asked again, "What are you coming here for?" The stone monkey said, "The disciple is here to learn from immortals." The patriarch laughed and said, "Seeing that you are so sincere, I will accept you. Get up." The stone monkey said happily, "Thank you, patriarch." The patriarch thought for a while and said, "If you have a surname, you have to have a name. My apprentices are ranked until you are the Wu character, so I will call you Wukong. Wukong, Monkey King. Great, I have a name. I have a name." Goku jumped and jumped with joy. Unexpectedly, the patriarch sank his face and said, "Wukong, since you have entered my door, you must abide by my rules, otherwise, I will punish you." Did you hear that? Wukong hurriedly said, "The disciple knows." The patriarch nodded and said, "Well, you go down." Since then, Wukong has stayed in the cave mansion, talking with the patriarch all day long, practicing martial arts. 6 or 7 years have passed in the blink of an eye. On this day, the patriarch gathered the disciples together and gave them a lecture on the scriptures. After a while, I saw Wukong dancing there. The patriarch lowered his face and asked, "Wukong, what are you doing again?" Wukong listened and quickly sat down and said, "When the disciple heard the wonder, he couldn't help but dance." The patriarch asked, "Wukong, how many years have you been here?" Wukong said, "The disciple doesn't know the years, but I remember that the peach blossoms on the mountain bloomed 7 times, thanked 7 times, and I ate the fruits 7 times. The patriarch said, "It's been 7 years since you came, what skills do you want to learn?" Wukong said, "The disciple wants to learn the ability of immortality." The patriarch said, "Then how about I teach you to meditate and participate in meditation?" Wukong asked, "Can you live forever?" The patriarch shook his head and said, "No. Don't learn, don't learn." The patriarch asked, "Then how about I teach you the ability to ask God for hexagrams?" Wukong asked, "Can you live forever?" The patriarch said, "No. Don't learn, don't learn." The patriarch asked again, "Then I will teach you the skills of arranging troops, you should always do it, right?" Wukong asked again, "Can you live forever?" The patriarch said impatiently, "No. Don't learn, don't learn." Goku said, shaking his hand. The patriarch was furious and scolded, "You monkey, you don't learn this, you don't learn that, you should fight." As he spoke, he picked up the iron ring ruler in his hand, hit Wukong's palm 3 times, and then walked away with his hands behind his back. The apprentices all complained to Wukong, "It's all your fault for being a monkey and making the master angry. You see, I left without finishing the class." Wukong grimaced and said, "Go we go, what do you know?" When the apprentices heard this, they all flicked their sleeves angrily and left. Wukong crossed his fingers and pondered, hit 3 times. With his hands behind his back suddenly, he seemed to understand something, and laughed. That night, Goku was lying in bed, tossing and turning, unable to sleep. On the 3rd watch, Wukong sat up from the bed and quietly came to the patriarch's room. The patriarch was sleeping on his side facing in, and Wukong didn't dare to be alarmed, so he walked lightly to the bed and knelt down. After a while, the patriarch turned over and found Wukong kneeling on the ground, so he said, "Why are you running to me in the middle of the night when you don't sleep?" Wukong said, "Master, you called me here." The patriarch deliberately asked, "Why did I call you here?" Wukong said, 3 hits, it's to tell me to come when there is no one on the 3rd watch. with his hands behind his back, he told me to come in through the back door. The disciple did not dare to disobey the master's order. The patriarch laughed when he heard this, sat up in his cloak and said, "You are indeed smart. This is also the fate between you and me. As a teacher, I will teach you some real kung fu." When Wukong heard this, he quickly kowtowed and said, "Disciple, thank you, master." The patriarch smiled and said, "Hee, get up. What is immortality? I have 2 spells here, one is 36 variations, and the other is 72 variations. Which one would you like to learn?" Wukong knelt down and kowtowed again. The disciple is willing to learn more. The patriarch nodded and said, "Okay, as a teacher, I will teach you the ability of 72 changes. You have to study hard, don't be lazy." Wukong said, "Please rest assured, master." The patriarch said, "You come up with your ears." The patriarch whispered the mantra of the spell to Wukong, and instructed him, "God knows this matter, you know it, I know it, if you let others know, I will drive you out, do you hear clearly?" Wukong said, "The disciple must strictly keep the secret and not let outsiders know." The patriarch nodded and said, "Well, you can go." Wukong thanked the master and turned to go out. From then on, whenever Wukong had free time, he quietly hid in a place where no one was there to practice the 72 changes taught by his master. After another 3 years, Wukong had mastered the 72 variations. One day, the patriarch called Wukong to a secluded place and asked him, "How are you practicing the 72 changes that the master taught you?" Wukong said, "Disciple, I will show the master a drill, and ask the master for advice." After saying that, Goku changed again. The patriarch twisted his beard, nodded and smiled, "Not bad, not bad. How have you practiced your ability to soar through the clouds?" Wukong said, "The disciple can already soar through the clouds." As he spoke, he did a somersault, flew up, circled in mid-air, flipped several times in a row, and finally landed. When the patriarch saw it, he laughed and said, "You are only 5 or 6 zhang above the ground, and you only come and go for 2 or 3 miles. Where can this be regarded as Tingyun? At most it is called climbing clouds." "Climbing the clouds?" Wukong asked, "What about Tingyun?" The patriarch said, "The real Tingyun can go straight to the 9 skies, travel thousands of miles a day, and travel all over Kyushu and the 4 seas in one day." When Wukong heard this, he scratched his ears and cheeks with joy, and quickly knelt down and said, "Ask master to teach me." The patriarch smiled, "Okay, today I am happy for the teacher, so I will simply teach you a way to ride the clouds. I see that you will do a somersault before you act, so I will teach you a somersault cloud." "How far can a somersault go?" Goku asked. The patriarch said slowly, 108,000 miles. Good. That's it." Goku danced with joy. The patriarch also taught Wukong the mantra of somersault clouds, and Wukong knelt on the ground to thank him. One day, Wukong and his brothers were together to learn martial arts. He looked at this empty hand-broken brick and pouted, "Look at the light work of that," and shake his head again. The junior brother was not convinced, and came over and said, "Wukong, they all said that the master taught you the skills of housekeeping, but you show your hands and open everyone's eyes." Wukong smiled, "What's so difficult about this? Say, what do you want me to do?" The younger brother said, "I see, let's turn it into a pine tree." "Okay, you wait." I saw Wukong's right hand crossed his waist, and his left hand pointed to the side, shouting, "Change." Sure enough, it became a pine tree and stood tall on the ground. When the brothers saw it, they couldn't help but shout, "Okay. Brother Wukong is very capable." When Wukong heard this, he was smug and changed back to his true body. The brothers and sisters kept clapping their hands and applauding. The noise had already alarmed the patriarch, who was taking a nap. The patriarch came out with a whisk of dust and asked, "What are you arguing about?" All the apprentices stood aside obediently and said, "Master, the apprentices are watching Wukong's junior brother show his skills." When the patriarch heard this, he lowered his face and said, "Wukong, I taught you 72 changes, did you ask you to use them to show off?" Wukong hurriedly knelt on the ground and said, "Master, the disciple knows that he is wrong, please punish the master." The patriarch sighed and said, "Alas, I won't punish you either, you can go." Yes, Wukong stood up and took just 2 steps, then stopped and asked, "Master, where are you letting me go?" The patriarch said slowly, "Where you come from, go back to where you come from." Wukong was in a hurry, knelt down and kowtowed, and said, "Master, are you going to drive me away?" The patriarch said, "It's not that I drove you away, it's that you and I have the fate of master and apprentice." Wukong hugged the patriarch's leg and said, "Master, the disciple is deeply grateful to you, and he hasn't had time to repay it, how can you bear it?" The patriarch laughed and said, "Say nothing to repay or not, you will cause trouble in the future, don't trouble me, thank God." Wukong kowtowed again and said, "Master, don't worry, the disciple is responsible for doing things alone, and he will never dare to implicate the master." The patriarch said, very good, very good. Listen, do more good deeds when you come down the mountain. If you use the skills I taught you to do evil, you will run to the ends of the earth, and you will never let you go as a teacher. You go." After saying that, he turned around and went into the cave. With tears in his eyes, Wukong kowtowed to his master's back 3 times, and then drove the somersault cloud back to Huaguo Mountain. "This time is different from when I went, in the blink of an eye. I have crossed thousands of mountains and rivers and come to the sky above the Huaguo Mountain water curtain cave." Wukong pressed the cloud head and shouted, "Boys, I'm back." For a long time, no one answered. After a while, an old monkey looked at it for a while and said, "The king is back." Then he came with a group of little monkeys to meet him. Wukong saw that these monkeys were all ragged, and hurriedly asked, "I haven't been here for years, what's going on at home?" The old monkey came over and said, "King, since you left, a group of monsters have come out of nowhere and occupied our cave, and we can't beat them." "Oh? Where did they come from?" Goku asked. The old monkey said, "The one at the head is called the Demon King of the Mixed World." Wukong was furious when he heard this, and asked, "Where is that monster now?" The old monkey said, "We are drinking and having fun in our water curtain cave." When Wukong heard this, he almost fried his belly angrily, and waved his hand and said, "Children, follow me. Settle accounts with them." The little monkeys began to scream. Wukong led the monkeys to the water curtain cave, and sure enough, he saw a blue-faced and fanged monster sitting on a stone bed, and a little demon was pouring wine for him. Wukong pointed at the monster and scolded, "Where are you from? How dare you bully my children and grandchildren and forcibly occupy my cave mansion?" The monster glanced at Wukong and laughed, "Just like you, it's not enough for me to stuff my teeth. Get out of the way." Wukong was furious and shouted, "Phew! Let you know how good Grandpa is." As he spoke, he jumped over and raised his fist to strike. The monster pushed the little demon away, raised the 9-ring knife on the table, and came to cut Wukong. Wukong lowered his head, gently and skillfully dodged, and punched the monster in the right rib. The yokai couldn't bear it anymore, spat blood from his mouth, fell to the ground and kicked his legs twice, and then didn't move. When the little demons saw that the king was dead, they scattered in a hurry. Wu Cheng'en led the monkeys to reoccupy the water curtain cave. The old monkey came over and said, "King, where have you been all these years? But it makes us think badly." Wu Cheng'en said, "I miss you too. I went to a far, far away place, where I met an old fairy, and the old fairy gave me a name." The old monkey asked, "Oh? What is it called?" Wu Cheng'en said, "The surname is Sun, and it is called Sun Wukong." The old monkey said, "The king's surname is Sun, then we are also surnamed Sun." Wu Cheng'en smiled, "Okay, we are a grandson, a litter of grandchildren." "Good, good." The little monkeys all shouted with joy. Huaguo Mountain is happy and lively again. After a few days, Wu Cheng'en suddenly remembered something and said to the old monkey, "I think, if you want not to be bullied by others, I can't do martial arts alone, you all have to learn martial arts." The old monkey said, "King, if you want to learn martial arts, you must have weapons." Wu Cheng'en said, "That's right, are there weapons around here?" The old monkey said, "There is no nearby, but when I was young, I was caught in the country of Aolai, where there were blacksmith's weapons." Wu Cheng'en said, "Okay, you wait at home, I'll come when I go." As he spoke, he made a somersault and came to the sky above the country of Aolai. Wu Cheng'en looked down and saw that in a barracks, hundreds of weapons were placed on wooden shelves, with knives, guns, clubs, and clubs. Wu Cheng'en was overjoyed, so he puffed up his cheeks and blew down from the air, and suddenly a strong wind blew, making people unable to open their eyes. Wu Cheng'en plucked a handful of hairs from the back of his neck, blew out, and shouted, "Change." I saw those hairs turn into countless little monkeys, go to the ground and pick up those weapons and leave. After a while, the wind stopped, and when people opened their eyes, all the weapons on the shelves were gone. Wu Cheng'en returned to Huaguo Mountain, gave weapons to the big and small monkeys, taught them martial arts, and chose a gibbon as the captain and asked him to lead the monkeys to practice day and night. One day, after the monkey soldiers finished training, the gibbon captain said to Wu Cheng'en, "You are happy today, King, let us see your martial arts." Wu Cheng'en said, "Okay, bring my 9-ring knife over." Several little monkeys lifted the 9-ring knife over, and Wu Cheng'en held the knife in his hand and danced quickly in the field. The monkey soldiers only saw a shadow of a sword, and they couldn't see Wu Cheng'en at all, so they couldn't stop applauding. Wu Cheng'en got up for a while, and he used a little more force, only to hear a click, and the 9-ring knife was broken into two. All the monkey soldiers were stunned, and Wu Cheng'en threw the half-cut knife in his hand to the ground and said, "Spoiled. It's a pity that there is not a good weapon." The gibbon captain came over and said, "King, I wonder if you can go in the water." Wu Cheng'en said, "My grandson goes to heaven and earth, he can do anything, how can he go?" "That's good," Captain Gibbon continued, "our water curtain cave is underground, leading directly to the Dragon Palace of the East China Sea. That Dragon King is rich all over the world, what treasure doesn't have it? The king only needs to borrow 1 or 2 from him, won't he?" Wu Cheng'en said, "Okay, you wait at home, I'll come when I go." With that, he jumped into the water and disappeared.